Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Unless you're new, then hi, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Jasmine. I make music pop culture videos here on my channel. If you want to stick around, never going to be opposed to that. Today we're going to be doing a video highlighting Little Mix's career, and I'm so excited because I've been wanting to highlight them for so long and the time has finally come. I have two other videos where I talk about Little Mix a little bit in them if you want to go check them out, but I wanted to do a full in-depth one, just taking a look at their career and things that make them great and why they've left such a legacy. Because recently they did do their last tour show and they're now on a hiatus and pursuing solo projects. So I thought since they did their last show and they're kind of disbanding for the moment, it would be the time for me to kind of take a look back at their career and some of the things, like I said, that make them great and made them one of the biggest girl bands in the world. So this is essentially going to serve as an It Factor installment. You guys know I have a series on my channel where I talk through people's careers. So this is essentially the It Factor for Little Mix. I just didn't call it that because I want them to stand out a little bit and have their own little highlight video, if you will, celebrating their time as a band, which is why it's not called the It Factor. So yeah, let's just get into it talking about Little Mix. So Little Mix is one of the UK's biggest girl bands of all time, made up of members Perry Edwards, Jade Thirlwall, Leanne Pinnock, and Jessie Nelson, though of course we know Jessie split from the band in 2020. Little Mix have been a massive feature of UK pop for their entire career, and they're one of the biggest acts of the decade. They're actually considered one of the best-selling girl groups of all time, not just in the UK, and they were the first girl group in Brit Award history to win Best British Group. 5 of their 6 albums have gone certified platinum. They're the first girl group to have 5 consecutive top 5 studio albums in the United Kingdom. They've broken several records held by the Spice Girls, including a Guinness World Record, and in 2018, Forbes named them as one of the most influential acts in all of Europe. The girls are described as a talented and cohesive girl group, crediting people like Michael Jackson, Beyonce, Destiny's Child, TLC, and Rihanna as some of their biggest musical influences. They have a very pop and R&B sound characterized by female empowerment, dance, and a very strong dynamic with one another, which are many of the things that made them such a powerhouse group and very well loved among a public of pop lovers. Little Mix has become one of Britain's national treasures, uniting the North and the South with their cross-border makeup, fighting social injustices, and ultimately creating some of pop's catchiest hits. The Little Mix girls have had a stellar decade so far. Where many groups have bailed before, Little Mix persevered and have hit this major musical milestone. And although 10 years is a rather short time frame to associate with legacy, Little Mix's achievements have placed them within the golden circle of girl group. There's lots of reasons to love and admire the Little Mix girls, and they've truly accomplished so much in their careers, so let's take a look at their career timeline. So as many of you probably know, Little Mix originally auditioned on the X Factor UK as solo artists. They were put in 2 separate girl groups on the show initially by the judges, one with Perry and Jessie and the other with Leanne and Jade. They competed in those 2 girl groups for the boot camp section of the X Factor, but then when they didn't make it to the judges' houses, they were pulled from each group and put into one big group that was originally called Rhythm Mix. For legal reasons, they later changed their name to Little Mix. They competed throughout the show together as a girl group and ended up finishing in first place, being the first group to ever win the X Factor UK, which was a pretty huge deal. Their winner single from the X Factor was called Cannonball, and it immediately topped the charts in the UK after it was released, which really proved that they were really loved and appreciated among the public, and people were really excited for what they were going to do together. Right after the girls got off the show, they were immediately creating a lot of buzz and working on a lot of big things, which I think makes a lot of sense considering their success on the X Factor. They were highly rooted for and very praised for their talent and their time on the show. And the reason I say they were already jumping into a lot of things right after they got off the show is, like, for example, they signed a deal with Bravado to release signature products. So they were going to sell like accessories and puzzles and games and dolls and things like that. There was a lot of faith in them from the beginning. The girls spent a lot of time after they got off the X Factor doing live performances and appearances, but during those appearances and live performances, they were just doing cover songs. But then later down the road in August, they released their debut single, Wings, which is just a smash hit. You know what I'm saying? Like my childhood anthem. Love her, will never forget her. She goes down in history. And Wings debuted at #1 on the UK singles chart, which is a little bit surprising, but at the same time, it's not at all surprising. I think that just says a lot about where they were at and the high anticipation that the public had for them over there in the UK. And after the release of Wings, they did a lot of promo for it, doing radio interviews and regular interviews and just promotional stuff, which ended up making Wings chart really well in other countries too. They also released an autobiography book called Ready to Fly, detailing their X Factor journey and their time, their career so far, and then later released their debut album called DNA. DNA is one of my comfort albums, actually. I feel like I could sit here and talk to you guys about DNA forever because it's just so fascinating to me how that was their debut as a girl group and it was so good. If you've never heard Little Mix's album DNA, I definitely recommend. I would describe it as pop perfection. Such a strong debut for a girl group, like I can't even believe it. 10, 11 years later, looking back and listening to DNA, it still hits the same and it's still so good, which is saying a lot because usually an artist would make their debut album and then later down the road you look back and it's like, But their debut album was so strong, it was so cohesive. The album debuted at number 3 in the UK and Ireland, which I'd say is pretty strong. Over the course of just shy 45 minutes, Little Mix provide us with a musically and vocally meaty slice of pop pie, overflying with electropop beats, heavy R&B influences, and balanced out nicely with engaging and memorable ballads. DNA is every bit what we were hoping to receive in Little Mix's debut album, which is pretty accurate. It does combine pop and R&B really well. And it was just so girl group oriented. Like, I cannot drill that into your mind enough. It was just so girl group oriented and kind of put the sound back into the mainstream that was missing for a little while. T-Boz from TLC and Missy Elliott herself both actually featured on DNA, which I think says a lot about the career that these girls were going to set up for themselves. After the album's release, the girls went on a small tour for it, just the DNA tour. They toured the UK and Ireland and did about 20 shows, which is a pretty small tour, especially compared to what they ended up doing later in the future. And while they were doing the DNA tour, they were also releasing these little tour diaries on their YouTube channel that were pretty cute and are super nostalgic now, basically just documenting their time on tour and what they were doing behind the scenes. And that was something that they were pretty good at, I'd say, is staying super like active and engaged with their fan base throughout their time as a girl group, releasing like behind the scenes footage and giving people sneak peeks into their lives and what they were up to. That was pretty common for Little Mix. But in November of 2013, they released their second project decently quickly after the first one, and the second one is called Salute. And this is the album where they got to co-write on it and got to make a little bit more of the music that they wanted, which they talked about in interviews during this time. It's made up of pop and dance pop as well as 90s style R&B, and it contains themes of female empowerment, self-love, mental health, things like that. The 3 singles that came off of this album are pretty good ones. They're Salute, Move, and Little Me. And the album itself charted at number 4 in the UK singles chart, and it was actually named one of the biggest selling girl group albums between 1994 and 2019. Just crazy, because it was only their second album. The accompanying tour for this album was called the Salute Tour, in which the girls played 20 completely sold out shows across the UK and Ireland. It was a pretty cute tour. They really brought out like the matching outfits, and they had a little bit of a bigger stage setup than they did for DNA. It was like a little bit of a step further, you know what I mean? Again, pretty quickly after that album in 2015, the girls announced that they were finished with their next project called Get Weird. And it was also revealed that they wrote over 100 songs for Get Weird, which is mental. I mean, and if it feels like we're moving super fast between their projects, it's because they moved super fast between their projects. They were severely overworked, but we talked about that in another video. But the Get Weird era? I meant era. Do people say era? I feel like people do. Anyway, the Get Weird era started all off with the single Black Magic, which reached number 1 on the UK singles chart. It actually stayed there for 3 weeks as well, becoming the first single by a girl group to do so since 2007. They performed it at the Teen Choice Awards, where they also won Best Breakout Artist, which kind of spoke to their sprinkle of popularity coming into the US. And then Get Weird went on to be their highest charting album yet, debuting at number 2 on the charts. And it went double platinum. She was huge. She was groundbreaking. And so was the tour, which is the biggest one that they had done at the time. This one was 60 shows in arenas this time across all of Europe, Asia, and Australia, which is a huge expansion from where they were touring before. And the Get Weird tour really brought this like girl group look a million steps further because they, like I said before, went even bigger and better now that they had more fans and more traction. The production was much bigger and the fashion was a lot more elevated. I really love the Get Weird looks. They were just really coming into this like major mega girl group stardom in this time. I really can't explain it. Like, look at these outfits. Look at how far we've come from the DNA outfits. They're super like bodysuits, like super glittery and snatch. I like the way that they're not exactly matching, but they all have on the same thing in a different style. I think that's something that Little Mix ended up doing a lot in their time together. Only a few months after the start of the Get Weird tour, the girls announced that they were already working on their next studio album, which I know is batshit insane. Okay, we can acknowledge that. The next album is called Glory Days, and its lead single, Shout Out to My Ex, actually charted at number 1 on the UK singles chart, and it sold over 67,000 downloads just just in its first week. And that was also the biggest opening week in the UK for all of 2016. Like the entire year, they held the record of the biggest opening week with that single. When I say go big or go home, the house doesn't exist. They're homeless. Okay, Glory Days released in November and was actually Little Mix's first #1 album, which again I say just speaks to how much they were growing and growing. This was also the fastest selling #1 album by any girl group in 15 years since Destiny's Child's Survivor in 2001. In this time, the girls performed at the 2017 Brit Awards after winning one. And then from February to April, they actually joined Ariana Grande on her Dangerous Woman tour, which was the crossover that I was not ready for, but one that was kind of needed marketing wise. Like it just makes sense. Probably not for their mental health because they were doing so much in this time, but from a marketing standpoint. Because also, right after opening for Ariana, they went on their own headlining tour for Glory Days and did 77 shows across Europe, Asia, and Oceania. But after this tour, we jumped straight into their next project called LM5, which lead single was called Woman Like Me featuring Nicki Minaj. One of my personal favorite music videos of Little Mix's is Woman Like Me, so they performed Woman Like Me at the Teen Awards and on the X Factor. This was the song that sort of dragged Little Mix into some beef that they've never really faced in the mainstream before. It was essentially just a feud between Nicki and Cardi B because Cardi came out and said that Little Mix invited her to rap on the song first, and she was real adamant about it. And it was also all just very stupid. Anyway, the other two singles they released for this album were called Joan of Arc and Think About Us. This is just like reminding me so much of who I was when LM5 came out. Like, I was glued to that album. I remember I was on fall break when it came out and I went on vacation and I would just not stop listening to every single. Oh my god, it just very nostalgic, I guess. They did tour LM5 though with only 40 shows this time, which is rather smaller compared to the 70 plus they were doing before. But they also announced that they would be splitting from their record label Psycho and away from Simon Cowell and signed with RCA Records instead, which was huge breaking news at the time and was really exciting for a lot of people who knew of their mistreatment under their record label. In February of 2020, Little Mix started filming a reality competition music show called Little Mix The Search, which I'm not sure a lot of people in the mainstream know about. It was a show basically where the Little Mix girls were judges and they were searching for people who could sing to put together in a group and join them on their next tour, which is actually a pretty like creative idea that I haven't really seen before to keep your career super engaging, but the show was canceled after only one season. I want to find it somewhere and watch it one day, so I'll let you know if that happens because it seems really interesting. I've seen a lot of like clips and funny moments and things like that from the show and it looks appealing, especially if you like Little Mix. So, but yeah, their first release under their new record label was called Breakup Song and it was a single off of their next album called Confetti, the last album we would ever hear from them as a 4-piece. It was released in November 2020 and peaked at #2, so close to snatching another #1 album, although the album did go #1 in Ireland. Around this time, it was originally announced that Jessie would be taking a break from group activities due to medical reasons, and she was absent from a lot of the things that they were doing, and then later it was announced that she would just be leaving the group altogether, and the rest of the girls would continue on as a 3-piece. The girls went on to win British Group at the 2021 Brit Awards, which is a huge milestone for them that they had openly talked about wanting to hit before. No other girl group had ever achieved that, so it was really amazing to see that happen for them before they disbanded or went on hiatus. They also hit the milestone of getting wax figures at Madame Tussauds in London, which is pretty huge, you know, like that's a pretty big deal when you hit that milestone, and their wax figures turned out super cute. And they also released a greatest hits album to celebrate their 10-year anniversary together called Between Us, which again is a really creative and interesting idea. After Between Us is when they announced they would be going on hiatus following their last tour show on the Confetti Tour that was originally postponed because of COVID. They actually live streamed their entire last show together, which is insane. And it was titled Little Mix, The Last Show, for now, in parentheses, which I think is really special. Like letting your fans see your very last show together before you guys go on hiatus and stuff, like giving everyone the chance to see it even if they aren't there. I think that's really special and I'm glad that they did that. But now we are officially in a time where Little Mix is not currently making music together and they're pursuing solo projects, which makes me really curious about the kind of sound that each of them is going to go for. But they did do a ton as a girl group and accomplished a lot as a girl group and did a lot for pop culture as a girl group. The records that they broke and the stats that they have are truly like not comprehensible, and I'm always going to be curious until we find out if there's going to be another girl group that can kind of step up and take the place. Welcome to the portion of this video where we're gonna watch Little Mix performances because I want to watch them and I'm gonna force you to watch them with me because they're amazing and wonderful. They have everything to do with this video, you know? We're looking at Little Mix's career, we're talking about what makes them great. We might as well watch their performances. So we're gonna see some performances from Little Mix throughout the years, including one of my absolute favorite performances that you just have to see. Let's do a little performance evolution. We're gonna start with the Little Mix performance from like 2012 after they got off the X Factor, and we're doing DNA stuff. Speaking of DNA, this performance is of DNA. Great song. I can't wait to hear the harmonies. Oh my god, look at them. They were just babies. Yes, vocals. Oh my god, her ring. I'm really curious about the choreography and how hard they went in their first era. Perry eats up her vocals live. That was so good. I love Jade's hair color. You hear that? Like, they just sound so good live. Even in their first era, they're just blending so well. Their facial expressions too, like they already have such a good stage presence, which is really important when you're gonna be a live performer. Like, you gotta pay attention to your face too. Killer. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Come on, Leanne. Take us there, girl. Oh, the body roll! Hold on, this harmony. I was hoping to hear that harmony more live, like they had the backing vocals in there, but like, oh my gosh. I am so obsessed with their facials. Okay. So that was one of their early performances after they got off the X Factor and they were releasing singles from DNA, and I think it was just so strong the way they were styled. They were clearly on theme. The harmonies were really well blended and clean already. Like, you can tell they've gone through a lot of vocal coaching already. But I was most impressed with their stage presence, like their facials, the way they took up all the room. Their moves were really intent and in place. Like, they're already such good dancers. But I did notice that their choreography wasn't as intense as it gets to be later in other eras, because they were just starting off and getting their footing with dancing. So the choreo wasn't as intense as other songs, but it was still so strong, and so it was still entertaining. I could watch Little Mix live performances all day, I swear to God. Next up, we're gonna watch a performance of Salute, because it's from their next era, and I wanna see how they kind of stepped up the choreography and what their vocals sound like. So, one thing about Little Mix is they're going to have a stage setup and a dramatic entrance. See, you can already hear the improvement since the DNA performance. The breath control is just so much better. Yes! They sound so fucking good. Their vocals are so much stronger. I'm floored. Ooh, the facials, yeah! I could do this all day. Ooh, are we getting a dance break? Okay. So much energy. I'm so impressed, I can't. Oh my gosh. You see what I mean? Like, just between those two videos, you can see how much they already improved. The breath support was fucking insane. Clean, loud vocals. They all individually sounded so great, and the choreo was like one step up. But one thing about them is they put on a show, like they're so effortlessly entertaining. That is a girl group. We're gonna watch their Black Magic performance from the Brits in 2016. I'm telling you, one thing about them is they have a stage setup, they have a show. I'm so excited. They look so good. I love the outfits. They just look so good, I can't. Whoever styled them for this, I hope you're eating good. They have such a stage presence. It blows my mind. So entertaining. Like, they sound like they're in the studio. They sound so good together. The thing I'm noticing here is they have much more confidence than the other two. I'm eating up the confidence in this video. Okay, Leanne vocals. The stage presence is super good in this one. Like, this is like the best they've done it so far. Okay, booty. Ah, I love a dance break. No, one thing about them, they're gonna add a dance break. Oh my god, the evolution of these dance moves, I cannot. Oh, that was beautiful. Whoa, bro! video because it was just beautiful and amazing and spectacular. Okay, we're gonna watch a Woman Like Me performance. I'm so excited. I think I've seen this one before, but that's okay. Like, how could you not sit here and watch Little Mix performances and just squeal and freak out and cry and throw up the whole time? Because they're just so good. It blows my mind every single time. Like, just within these few little clips, there's things to love from the beginning, but there's also things to notice that are changing in the best way. That was such a good performance. Their dance breaks, the harmonies, the vocals, the growl, the look. Their facials are one of my favorite things about them. The way that they like engage their face while they're performing. I love it. So good. 10 out of 10. Now we're down to the last performance, and it's Little Mix as a three-piece performing Sweet Melody, which is one of my favorite songs that they've ever done. I love Sweet Melody. And this is also one of my favorite performances. I tweeted about this the other day. It's so good. Like, I eat it up every time. I hope you're prepared. Oh my god, who else is freaking out? I'm dead. You're talking to my ghost right now. I've died. I passed away. Like, they're just the most insane performers, girl group of the generation. They put their whole neck, back, body, soul, black magic, I don't know, everything that they have into their performances. They're so effortlessly entertaining. Their facial expressions, the vocals, the outfits. I really shouldn't have done this because now watching their performances is making me upset that they like went on hiatus and we're not gonna get more of these, because they're just like my favorite people to watch perform, and I'm so impressed every time. And thank you for coming along this journey with me, because we all just needed to see, like, we can sit and talk about their career, but you just need to see it for yourself, like the magic that happens. Thank you for watching Little Mix performances with me. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. I definitely think that the Little Mix brand is super characterized by both female empowerment and a really strong and deep friendship dynamic with each other. And those two things are just such a huge driving factor for them in their career. Every single era that they had was just filled with celebrations of womanhood and the power behind a woman as a whole. Not only that, but the power of dynamic female friendships too, which is so important to the girl group brand in general. Or I should say girl group culture. Little Mix just handled that part really well. They always seemed super close and affectionate and supportive of each other in a way that never felt like staged or robotic. A group that can manage to bond together really well in a way that comes off so clearly in everything that they do. It's just extremely noticeable, and people in the general public eat it up. I know I did. And dare I say it, but that's a huge thing that definitely set Little Mix apart from like Fifth Harmony. The relationships that Little Mix had with each other and the energy that they radiated off of each other was just so incredibly different. But yeah, they really have always come off as these super empowered, badass women that want to celebrate femininity and women supporting women and female empowerment and equality and confidence, things like that. And that goes for their music, but also things that they've said in interviews and just like where they stand as people in general. I love this quote from Celeb Mix that says, "Their legacy transcends their music and enters the social space where they've crafted a safe space for all races, sexualities, and genders. Little Mix became a movement of acceptance, and not many artists can have that." Which is true. It's amazing to have this huge powerhouse girl group that's poppy and glamorous, but also fought tirelessly for everyone to feel heard and accepted. And trust that the glitz and glamour are a huge part of their brand as well, something else that makes them so appealing and exciting, which I think is the appeal for a lot of girl groups in the first place, or not even just girl group, but female pop artists. That's like one of the most fun parts about it. Their style has changed with time, but they've always had fun hair colors and styles, lots of feathers and sparkles and bodysuits and skirts, sometimes dresses that are more elegant and classy. Like I said earlier, they don't always match like they're wearing the exact same thing, but instead they take this like complementary route where it's like they're all wearing the same colors and the same design, and it's clearly the same thing, but it's cut differently. They're wearing them differently. I'm so obsessed with that look for a girl group. I think that looks super cool. And I also like that they can jump between streety, edgy, and hyper feminine and still look so put together and look so themselves. Speaking of themselves, I think that's another huge component of Little Mix's appeal. They've always just come off like they're being themselves, and they've come off super relatable regardless of being like mega pop superstars. They have such fun and chatty interviews. My god, I'm in love with Little Mix interviews because of the energy that they bring and the self-awareness that they bring. All their personalities just shine a lot, and it's never dull or boring. It's exciting to see them and hear what they have to say individually as a group, and that's such a necessary component of, being famous. Another thing is their voices as a whole very, very talented girl group. I don't even need to tell you that. Jessie's voice is super, super unique. It's always been super unique. Perry, my God, powerhouse vocalist of the century. Like, Jesus Christ. All four of them are extremely talented, especially together. Like, oh my God, some of the cleanest, most angelic harmonies I've ever heard in my life. I could go on about their talent forever. Every time I hear them harmonize together in any way, a cappella or live, my jaw is on the floor because from the very start of their career, they've always had such angelic, clean harmonies. I can't even describe it any other way. They just have such a talented blend of voices that clearly helps a lot. If you're going to be a girl group, something that's super important is to sound so good together and sound so cohesive together. And Little Mix legit sounds like they were literally born to find each other and harmonize together. And I mean that with every fiber of my being. I think one of the biggest things about Little Mix is how they harmonize together. It's literally insane. Those are some of the reasons that make Little Mix such a huge standout and make them so, so great. They're powerhouse vocalist, beautiful, clean harmonies, the glitz and the glamour. They look so good. They're so stylish. They can change up their style and still look so cohesive. They have this great blend of pop and R&B and dance pop in their music that just works, and it's stayed super consistent over time. They're dynamic with each other, how supportive they are, how energetic and fun, and how much personality they have in their interviews. The fact that they've always openly talked about equal rights and stand for female empowerment and will not be silenced. All of those things together in a blender just make Little Mix who they are and make them so great. And they've just had such a phenomenal career and have done so much in the best way. And sitting back and watching them evolve over time has been a gift, truly. I think the one real, like, main drawback that Little Mix had in their time together was not being pushed into North America enough. They really, really stood their ground in the UK and even Europe in general, but not really ever in the States. They had such potential to be this huge, huge breakout group that was in the mainstream and all over the world, but they kind of stayed a little bit confined. And I definitely don't think that's their fault. Their management team and their record label never gave them a tour spot in the US. They were supposed to tour in the US but canceled it. They weren't doing a ton of like big mainstream promo over here and doing all the shows and things and performing at award shows and all the ways that you kind of get your name out there in the States. And that was just a huge market that had so much potential for them to kind of come here and do like the worldwide takeover. And they did. You know what I mean? Like there's obviously I grew up a Little Mix fan and I'm from the US. So they had some traction here a little bit, especially all over like TikTok and Musically at the time and on the radio, but just not in the way that it could have been. And that's so unfortunate because they had the talent and the room to do it. Again, not their fault, but I think that's just one of the things about Little Mix that's so interesting to talk about and to know is that they never really broke into the States like they could have. But yeah, I thank the heavens every day that we got Little Mix and we got to experience them. I don't think anything that I say can get across enough how just monumental their career was and everything that they did for girl group culture. They are just gonna go down in history as one of the greatest in only 10 years of having a career together. So I can't wait to see what's next for all of them. I'm definitely rooting for them, especially in their solo careers, because even though I'm sad they're not going to be a group, they're very, very talented women who stand for all the right things. So I'm really excited to see more from them regardless. Thank you guys so much for watching my little video on Little Mix and the legacy that they're leaving behind. I had a lot of fun researching them, and like I said, I'm always wishing them all the best. So definitely comment down below and let me know some of your favorite Little Mix songs and what you think about their careers, your curiosities about their solo careers. Don't forget to check out the description for my social medias. I also have a form down there for video requests. I hope you're all doing absolutely amazing, drinking all the water, thriving beyond belief, and I'll see you in my next video.